is a Wednesday at 5:05, and we are inside the War Room for the next hour. And you can watch it live on the KTAR YouTube channel. Our panel, let's get to it. We've got the Democratic Arizona State Senator Analise Ortiz. First time in the War Room. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We've got former Pinal County Sheriff Mark Lamb. Sheriff, good to see you.
Good to see you guys again. Thanks for having me back. Clearly, I didn't do a poor enough job the last time.
There's always this time.
Yeah, I'll be shooting low. Oh.
And we got former Phoenix City Council member Sal DiCiccio back in the big chair. Sal, how are you?
Thank you, Gato's doing great. Thanks, Bruce, for inviting me.
Great to have you back.
Let's go right into ICE.
Ooh.
Let's talk about deportations. Let's talk about what's going on with Trump and ICE and the deportations. Here's a few things. Today, San Bernardino, California, the diocese there has suspended the Sunday Mass. Fear of ICE raids.
And if I understand it correctly, they have to literally issue an
obligation,
excuse for people not to show up. Usually it's done in like natural disasters or war.
We have a record 59,000 people currently being held in ICE detention. Nearly half of them with no criminal record. Okay, ICE detentions and ICE raids. Let me start with Sheriff Lamb. Why are they masked?
Well, first of all, the last thing you said, no criminal record, is misleading because you come into this country. If you come in illegally, you've broken the law.
Misdemeanor.
Right? And then there's a lot of things piled up on top. Driving without a license, no insurance. If you're working under the table, likely not paying taxes, or you have a fraudulent Social Security number. So the list of things goes on and on. Now, I know that they are focused on people who have criminal records in this country, and I think that most Americans love that idea of going after those folks.
I haven't heard anybody argue against going against after people with criminal records.
They have sanctuary cities. They will not cooperate with ICE with those individuals that have committed crimes. They will not cooperate. Look at what happened in Chicago with the mayor there. Said he, under no circumstances will he work with ICE.
But the fact of the matter is, even not in sanctuary cities, you have people that were here with no criminal record whatsoever, and these are not the people who Trump said he would go after. He said violent criminals, people who have crimes of rape and violence and aggravated assault. The vast majority of these people are here to work hard and to get a pathway to citizenship, which Congress has failed to deliver.
Would you acknowledge they broke the law when they came in here?
It is a civil
offense you as a state senator
cross the border, and these folks are here to get a pathway to citizenship that Congress has failed to deliver on. But they did it illegally.
That's the thing is we cannot push this away, because if we start doing this with one crime, we may as well do it with all crimes.
Yeah, but not all of them are here illegally. Many of them have used our asylum process, which, by the way, is broken. Full stop.
And those folks are not on the list of people being removed unless a judge has determined that they should be removed.
That's not true. I've been at the immigration courthouse where people who are here with a lawful asylum day in court have been detained. On top of that, you have lawful permanent residents and United States citizens who are being picked up. The vast majority of Arizonans do.
Or is that just chatter?
Absolutely, we have
because we hear that kind of stuff all the time, and the reality is they still go through a process to be removed, contrary to what the media wants to tell people. As far as the masking, getting back to that question, the masking, there's a 700% increase in violence against agents right now. I don't see any politicians pushing for people not to wear masks when they go out and burn streets, and when they claim to be peacefully protesting that quickly turns violent. I don't see any push to take masks off of those folks, but you want to take it off of your agents. Those agents are not showing up in plain clothes with no markings. They have vests on. It is clear that they are law enforcement. And look, I have no problem with them wearing masks because they have to protect their families. And right now, we have politicians saying that they are the Gestapo, like Tim Walz and Gavin Newsom and other elected officials, calling ICE the Gestapo. Absolutely, I'm okay with them wearing masks because they have a right to protect themselves.
There were 10 people who have been charged with attempted murder after ambushing ICE agents in Texas on the 4th of July. And so a lot of people are wondering, maybe that's why they wear a mask. I happen to think that...
Well, by that argument, all police should wear masks.
I happen to think that ICE agents don't really like what they're being sent in to do. I think they had a different idea of going in and getting the violent criminals. And I think maybe that's another reason that they're wearing a mask.
And dragging off dishwashers and maids is not it?
They feel their family could get dragged into this. If you have 10 people trying to kill ICE agents, maybe they should wear a mask.
Well, Let me give you a perspective back to the BLM when that all occurred.
Okay.
I lived through that. The police
The Bureau
officers,
of Land Management?
Yeah, they're the ones.
Which used to really confuse me, by the way.
Through the 2020s, Black Lives Matter movement. So the police officers at the time were being targeted. Their families were being targeted. They were being doxxed. The kids knew where the children of these police officers were. They were being harassed at school. So now these are ICE agents. They're out there trying to do their job. When they're picking people up, they're not going to just sit there and say, hey, look, this person has a violent criminal history. This one has none. They have to arrest them all. That is the law. The law says you pick them up. You can't pick and choose. Otherwise, change the law. If you want to change it, change the law.
Unfortunately, what is happening is racial profiling. And you have people,
no,
there is no arrest
on.
warrant. There is no warrant for, and they're picking up people like dishwashers, like the nanny. And I think both of you care about public safety, right?
We do, but
and
you
not
can't,
and wearing masks.
I can't let you come out here with this racial profiling because
to have a brown woman that I can't speak about racial profiling.
We had Ukrainians, we had Russians, we had Africans, we had all these people coming in. It's not about racial profiling.
Let me pose this question to you, Sheriff. If a masked agent pops out of a car, picks somebody off the street, how do I know what their credentials are or that they are actually a law enforcement official?
How does the face make a
difference?
difference?
Can I finish this point?
Yeah, but how's
the confusion and fear undermines public trust. It leads to dangerous misunderstandings. This is not public safety at all. It is quite the opposite.
But do you know why they're afraid? Because they broke the law, Annalise. They broke the law when they came into this country illegally.
They should never have been here.
So what
That's
would
why
stop?
they're
What would stop an
afraid.
impersonator? Just a few weeks ago, we saw.
Why would anybody go impersonate ICE right now?
Just a few weeks ago,
with the level
we
of
saw
hate?
an impersonator of a police officer go and assassinate a Democratic legislator. So there are examples of this happening. I'm trying to understand why you think it would be safe for somebody to pretend to be ICE, which could happen. There's vigilantes all over the place.
Okay, so
We've
let's
seen
say they
that
take
here
the
in
mask
Arizona.
off. What difference does the mask make?
Now it is not a
so they
random
can dox
person
them.
who is wearing it's not always labeled. I saw allegedly masked ICE agents at the immigration courthouse who did not have anything on their vest. When I, as a state senator, asked them, who are you? What agency are you from? They would not answer me.
You
Were
mean
they in
like
the process
That's
of...
not public
you've got
safety.
plainclothes officers when you don't know if they're police officers if they're wearing plain clothes.
I do find it
that
funny.
happens, too.
I do enjoy it that at least when you talk about the political spectrum, the one side that used to think that government was coming for you and worry about black helicopters and we need to have guns all the time because government's coming for you is perfectly okay with government coming for you as long as it's coming for the people they don't
But
like.
no, it's
Exactly.
not about that.
Bruce.
I'm not worried
It's
because
not
I
that.
didn't break the law. They're worried because they broke the law when they came
They're
into this
not
country.
rounding up white people. They're just not.
Sheriff,
It's
They're
not.
rounding
But
up people
they
that
are-
came across the border
And they're not-
illegally.
They've rounded
have
up
rounded up
Canadians,
United States
Armenians.
citizens.
They're not going after the Irish, and roughly 10 to 15% of people who've overstayed visas in this country are not from
They're-
South America, Mexico, etc. They're not getting rounded up.
There are United States citizens who have been detained and who have shown ID, and law enforcement said, that's not good enough, we don't believe you. So do I, as a brown woman, now have to walk around with my birth certificate, with my passport everywhere I go, when my white counterparts do not? That is what is actually happening in our
I do
communities
watch. I walk
right
around
now.
with an ID every day.
So do I.
I don't present.
That's a terrible
I don't
argument.
present it unless I've been unless you can prove I've committed a crime.
And
I
think-
love the Fourth Amendment. It's my favorite one.
These stories are being
All 10 are
I
important.
think they are being exaggerated and twisted. I get what your concern is, but like I've lived in other countries, okay? And if I'm in there illegally, I'm going to be concerned that if I get pulled over, I'm going to get deported. And it's not because law enforcement is doing their job there. It's because I know that I broke the law to be there illegally.
When due process is being ignored, you do not have the opportunity to prove that you are in the country with authorization. And that is what is happening, is you have a Trump administration ignoring due process.
I said that they were going to go after
That's
green
not
card
true.
people.
So hold on a second. Trump is ignoring due process. At times, the answer is yes. Obama did that too.
Wasn't right then.
He did
No,
several million.
I'm just
people.
saying that it's
But
not.
the executive branch has the authority to remove people from this. Oh, so when we talk about this due process thing, this is why the Kilmar-Obrego Garcia was so big for the left, because that was their opportunity to bog the system down,
Want to
and
do
they're
El
doing
Pa-
it again. They're bogging it down with due process. Due process could be as simple, and this is where I think Congress and Senate need to act.
Here.
If the Republicans want to fix this, they should say,
Could have fixed it
here's
yesterday.
what due process looks like
Could have
for
fixed it
removing
yesterday.
somebody from the country.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as an agent for ICE or Border Patrol evaluating that person, and if they don't qualify, if it's proven that they came in this country illegally, they're removed. Or if they don't have a valid asylum claim. 90% of people with asylum claims will be proven invalid in a court, and that comes directly from immigration judges.
Agreed.
And it could
But
be
they
even
still
higher
they
right
still
now.
deserve that day in court.
Well, what you're getting,
But
Bruce,
not in 2032, because that's when their court dates are right
So
now.
the issue there is
so
the
do we need
backlog
more
of immigration
judges?
judges, which Congress needs to solve.
But you don't need more judges. You just need to empower our ICE agents and people from an administrative level to do it. That's
what they're
count
doing
as
without
right now.
a judge, without a
Without
hearing.
a judge.
You're
Well,
saying an ICE agent should
you're-
be able to deport someone without a hearing.
You're
Or
creating
already
your
occurring.
version of what due process is. Due process at the border is very different than what you guys want in due process.
Change the asylum laws. I'm
They're
fine
not
with that.
American citizens.
Change the asylum law.
so everyone supposedly on the left is getting upset because everybody's getting rounded up.
I'm not on the left.
Okay.
I love the Constitution of the United States, and
Well,
I know
look-
exactly what it says when it comes to this.
Okay. I don't doubt you, Bruce.
Finish your thoughts,
But
sir.
What does
the
it say,
bottom
though?
line is a lot of people are getting upset because this mass roundup that was being told that that's going to happen. Yes, some of them are going to have violent criminal history. If you look at it, 59,000, about 30,000 of them, 30,000 are here violently. That's a lot. That's not a small number. That is
No.
a big number.
Get 'em.
So when a ICE agent goes in, they make an arrest on one person, they're going to arrest everybody else in that room or around that person.
And that
because they
those are not the
required by
people that
law
Trump
to do
has
that.
said that they
It doesn't
he is
matter. They're
going to go
required
after.
by law to follow the law. The law says if they're here illegally, they get deported. Period.
They should not
It
be
gets
questioning
deported.
people who are not part of the
They should
valid
be.
arrest warrant.
They should-
A
they
random
should.
dishwasher in
Okay.
a restaurant should not be questioned
We're
for
gonna-
the color of their
Don't
skin.
answer their questions. I plead the fifth.
We're gonna leave it at that.
Are you in this country illegally? I won't answer. When I go through those checkpoints, are you a citizen of the United States? I don't answer questions.
But in the end, the master
I don't answer questions.
They have the right to protect them and their families.
Yeah, and
And it makes us less safe when we do not know who is conducting those raids.
And the Constitution says I have a right to be free as well. So there you have it.
We were talking about immigration. We were
Yeah.
talking about the raids. We were talking about. I think you said they're not rounding up a single white person.
They're going to Mexican restaurants and arresting dishwashers. Yes.
Okay, that was one dishwasher, and I agreed that was pretty bad. Why don't we get into that?
Was he a criminal? Did he have a criminal record?
No.
Now you mentioned if he snuck into the country, that is criminal.
That's criminal.
That's
Civil
what
offense,
happened.
misdemeanor.
That was the record. But off the air, and I'm just bringing everybody up to
Yeah.
speed. What we're talking about is who's getting pulled over, who's getting dragged out of a courtroom.
Not me.
Are they all people of color? Is that what we're seeing? Because Bruce and I go at this all the time. He thinks they're rounding up all the Mexicans.
Yeah,
I disagree.
It's to kick the Mexican out crowd.
Right. I
Yeah.
disagree.
I disagree, too.
It was racist when Trump is doing it. It was not racist when Barack Obama did it.
If you look at
don't get
Chicago, you look at those folks are from Venezuela, not Mexico, Venezuela.
Right.
And you can say, well, they all have brown skin. They're also all rounding up Armenians,
Middle
Russians,
East,
Middle
Middle Eastern.
Easterners.
And
They
there's
found-
the point.
They
They
found
are
Africans.
choosing people who do not look like they are, quote, from here. Like
choosing
they are
people who
non-white.
came into this country
People who are
illegally.
non-white.
How do you determine that?
And
Well,
that-
hang on. Let's give her a chance. Hold on.
Let's look at what happened with the other people who were deported to El Salvador, enduring torture in a foreign prison. One of those people just happened to have tattoos that said mom and dad. And he was profiled because of the color of his skin. They find out he's from Venezuela. They inquire about the tattoos. They make a false claim that the tattoos are gang tattoos, and he's deported without an ability to go
That's a lie.
before an asylum judge to say
That's not
that
true.
he feared for his life in his
Two
country.
law enforcement agencies.
These cases are
two
true.
law enforcement agencies documented him. So you're saying that the cops were liars because they documented him. So did the courts.
Documented
so let's
the
not play this
tattoos
game
as
that
being gang
Kilmar
related.
Abrego Garcia
I am not
was
talking
some
about
saint.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He
Okay.
is not the only one.
Are you
Okay.
talking about
Well, I don't know
somebody
who
different?
else
I
you're
am
talking
talking about
about.
somebody different.
Okay, because that gentleman that you were talking about, there were rumors or pictures that surfaced where he had a tattoo from, what was it again, Bruce?
I've gotten confused about all these different ones.
There's been an autism awareness tattoo.
It was an autism awareness one, because of his mom.
Trump put the picture up, held the picture up.
Oh no, that's Kilmar.
I'm not aware of that.
The one where he wrote him in. Yeah, the one where he wrote him in Sharpie.
But here's they're going after. They're not just running down the street and pulling over because you look like you may not be from here. That's not what's happening.
That is what we are seeing in Los Angeles.
That's what you're being told across.
I have watched videos.
Have you been to Los Angeles?
The ACLU has just filed a lawsuit. They are tackling people on the streets because they are assuming they are not from here. And that is racial profiling. That is a violation of our constitutional rights.
The 59,000
United States
people
citizens
that are in
are being stopped,
detention.
detained, and questioned.
The 59,000 people that are in detention are here illegally. They picked up the people that are here illegally. That's what they're doing.
What
now,
about
people
the
may
United
not like
States citizens who have been detained for more than 24 hours because they didn't believe even a real ID?
Who?
This was a case that has happened.
Where?
There are in
Where?
the news regularly. There was a person here in Nogales.
There are citizens. There are people with orders of stays. There are people with green cards that are getting picked up.
What are those specific? Because you hear it and then you find out that they had criminal records. Or you find out more information.
That is not the case.
But it's a fishing expedition.
The guy down the street came to me.
This is the fishing expedition that police officers like to do. Pull them over and start asking questions until you find out a crime occurred.
The people that are here illegally are getting picked up. That's it. That's what exactly what's
The fact of the matter is that I, as a Latina, should not have to worry that I will be pulled over, questioned, forced to show my birth certificate or a passport because they simply do not believe that I am in this country because of the color of my skin. And that is what is happening all across this country.
Well, I'm going to tell you, we told you during the break, that is unfair.
Yeah.
To law enforcement to go out and do this job every day. You are insinuating, you're not just insinuating, you are saying that we are not doing our job right, and I categorically deny that, and I say it is unbecoming of a state senator to say those types of things.
That's fine because the courts would disagree with you as they did in the MCSO case,
that's
which
one
has
judge
cost
here in this state who got sideways with that judge got sideways with Arpaio. That is a ruse. They charge the people of. You should be angry as a taxpayer of Maricopa County that you guys pay $18 million a year
regularly
for a witch hunt after the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, and they tried to do it to Phoenix PD too.
To this day, there are court-mandated community meetings that happen in my community in Maryvale that MCSO is forced to show up to, where regularly we hear stories of how people are being racially profiled and their civil rights are still being abused to this day.
Can I put this into perspective really quick?
Sal gets the last word,
yeah,
then we got to move.
just really into perspective.
Go ahead.
13 million people came across under the Biden administration illegally across the border. What do you want police officers to do? What do you want ICE agents to do? Sit back and say, well, yeah, you're here. I guess everything's okay. It's not okay. The United States of America has a border. It has a door to our entryway. You don't allow people into your home without your permission. 13 million people came into this country without our permission. They are here illegally. Police officers have to do their job. If you don't give them the respect and the adherence to allowing them to do their job, it's never going to get done.
State Senator, you got about 30 seconds.
We are all entitled to due process rights. We are entitled. Many of these folks fleeing violence and persecution in their home countries have a fair day before a judge. And what have we seen at the immigration courthouse here in Phoenix? They are being ambushed when they are trying to do things the right way and show up for their immigration hearings.
Okay.
This is unprecedented.
All right, we're going to leave it at that. Let's get to the big, beautiful bill signed into law. All right, here's the thing. It's 1,000 pages. Nobody read it. Is it a complete disaster? Are there some good things in it? I got a couple of examples. A janitor in Phoenix making about $32,000 a year will see a 9.5% break. That's about $3,000 a year.
Is that a tax cut?
Correct.
Okay.
A teacher making $60,000, which I think is ridiculously low, and most teachers
probably
don't make that.
Not even the average.
But for a teacher making around $60,000, you're going to see a 4.6%. It works out to $2,700 more a year. Okay, so some of the tax benefits are okay. Mm-hmm. I would like the panel to tell me what you like about the bill, what you don't like about the bill, because I don't think a 900-page bill can be all good and all bad.
Fair.
Sal.
Yeah, I got a quick thing on that, though, first. if you look at it, it's nothing more than an extension of the tax cuts from 2017. That's what this bill is about.
It's not new tax cuts. It's an
extension.
They were set to expire.
Right. That's basically what it's about.
The tax on tips may be new.
Tax on tips and the
Okay, you're right. Tax on
and
tips.
The $6,000 deduction for Social Security was in there. There are new things in there, but this is nothing more than we've already been living through. So everybody that's complaining about this, the rich are getting this, the rich are getting that. The bottom line is it's what's been happening already.
But and that's why I wanted to bring up a janitor and a teacher.
Yeah.
They are going to see more money in their paycheck, but so will billionaires.
Yeah,
Billionaires get
everybody
a tax cut too.
Everybody gets it.
Does everybody
that's the
get
American way.
The billionaires get a significantly larger tax cut. This is the biggest transfer of wealth from working people to billionaires in United States history. And when you think about saving the $2,000, well, how is that going to impact them when we have more than 350,000 Arizonans who will be kicked off their health care? And now you're having to supplement your mom or your grandmom who can no longer be subsidized in a nursing home because this bill has taken that away.
So do we have to figure out, is more money in your pocket? Are you okay with more money in your pocket if other people are going to lose their health care?
Well, we've been living with this under the Biden administration. No one complained about it then. I didn't hear anybody say, oh, we got to change it now. They didn't happen. Under the Biden administration, this is almost the same law that we're living under today. So all this was just basically solidifying,
with a whole bunch of new spending.
With new spending.
With a whole bunch of new spending that adds to the deficit and the debt. Yes.
Yeah, the cuts to Medicaid are going to be absolutely devastating for Arizonans. Even if you aren't on Medicaid, we're talking about at least 5 rural hospitals at risk of closure. These are going to be horrible impacts, ripping food from hungry kids' mouths.
But we also had a
SNAP
tremendous
cuts are going
amount
to
of
hurt Arizonans.
We had a tremendous amount of fraud that was going on with people that were in this country illegally for Medicaid and for Social Security. So
people who are in the country without authorization are not entitled to
Medicaid.
Medicaid or SNAP benefits.
No, they are not. Oh, no.
No, they are not.
It's in the bill.
That is a lie.
No, it's in the bill.
You're believing a lie.
I'm telling you right now, it's in the bill right now. They could not take out the 1.3 million people that are in the country illegally because the parliamentarian would not allow it to be taken out. So there are 1.3 million.
For emergency medical services, people are not entitled to Medicaid if they aren't here without authorization.
But people act like the hospital won't take them, and the hospital will take them.
Let's talk.
Hospitals don't turn anybody away.
Let's talk about the hospitals.
Sal?
$50 billion was set aside for rural hospitals. $50 billion. In order to solve whatever problems that they might have.
Well, it's to supplement the Medicaid cuts.
And the Medicaid, let's talk about that. The majority of not the majority, a big chunk of the individuals between 18 and 65, if they're able-bodied to work, they have to work for the money that they get from the taxpayer. I expect that. I have to work. They should have to work,
We have a lot of people sucking off the teat of the American public right now, and it's got to get fixed. You ask about what I don't like about the bill.
Yeah.
I think it didn't cut deep enough. I would like to see more cuts. I like the extension of the tax cuts. Frankly, I think taxes are way too high already. I would like us to go back down to 2%, 3%.
But then let's cut government spending.
But we're talking about.
Here's the problem.
You're talking
you
about
can't
transferring wealth from low-income
But
people
here's the thing
to
is you just got through
fund
you just
a
got
tax
through
cut for a
arguing
billionaire
with me.
to buy another yacht.
You just got through arguing with me over 1%, one group of people being treated differently, and now you want to turn around just because it's a money thing.
But
you're
Yeah,
okay with treating
if you're
another
a
group here.
billionaire
Annalise,
who needs another yacht,
They
you don't
pay
need another
taxes.
yacht.
Did you
you
complain
need to
about
pay your
this
fair
under the
share.
Biden
You're punishing
administration?
them.
Yes,
It's the same
yes,
law.
I have disagreed
That's
with
socialism.
these-
That is socialism.
allowed
If you
this to
want to
go
punish
through.
people for being successful in this country, that is
I
socialism.
believe in
have
taking
a
care of
graduated
each other
tax
in a
system.
society. I believe of taking care of each other in a society, and that means not kicking grandma
No,
off of her
what
health
you're
insurance.
saying is you
it
wanna
means not
take
kicking
from
the
the rich
single
to give to the
mom
poor.
who
That's
is struggling
It's
off
not
of health
happening.
insurance or taking SNAP away
You
from
can
single
explain it however
parents.
you want, Annalise.
That
That's
is
socialism.
heartless.
That's
it is heartless to
socialism.
do that in the United States
Look,
of America.
Well, first
this
of all, it's not
guts our
happening.
social safety
It's
net.
not going to happen.
So when
not-
people are
well,
upset about homelessness,
gonna happen.
when they are upset about high medical bills, that is going to get multitudes worse because of this big, ugly bill
here's
that
wh-
is going to hurt our social safety net catastrophically.
Can I
Well,
tell you?
where
Here's
were
how
you
you know
last
it's
year?
not.
Where
Here's
were
how you
you
know
last
it's not
year to
popular.
complain
You
about
ready?
it?
Hang on.
The Medicaid cuts.
Yeah.
You know when they go into effect?
2027.
After the midterm elections. That's how you know it's not popular. They don't want to have to try to run on their vote.
Well,
It's
eventually they
shameful.
have
The
to.
other thing is I like the robustness of the border stuff, securing the border. Just so people understand, when they allocate money for hiring, It's going to take years to actually fill those positions, train them, get them out in the field. So this is not something you just snap your fingers and overnight it makes a change.
Just real quick, does anyone care about the debt?
No, nobody cares anymore.
Nobody cares.
I do, but nobody else cares.
Republicans claimed to care about the debt, but they obviously don't.
Sheriff, I mean, it's what? How much are we going to add to it?
About $3 trillion.
3 to 4 trillion. It'll go 37
but is that a better
trillion
pace
overall.
than what we were on? Because we were on a terrible pace of adding debt.
Agreed. It doesn't matter if it's a D or an R. They all spend money we don't have.
We were on a collision course with death as a country with
we're going to hit
the last administration.
$37.2 billion in September. I blame Rand Paul a lot for this because he could have stayed in the negotiation. He was the key vote. He could have made it a more fiscally responsible bill. He could have done that, but he pulled himself out by saying, well, I'm just not going to vote for it. Enough of that.
So you're going to get more money in your check, but 370,000 Arizonans could go without health coverage.
And you're going to screw your grandkids with the
That's
debt.
the optimal word.
The debt. And the debt is going to go into
worse and worse
catastrophic.
and worse.
Yeah. Listen, I acknowledge there's good and bad in this thing. I acknowledge it.
Yeah.
You're just gonna you will decide if you like this when you feel it either.
Well, and until it affects you.
Way.
Exactly.
I
until
also
it
want to
affects you.
quickly point out that the tax cuts that purport to help working class people, like no tax on tips, are temporary, while the tax cuts for billionaires are permanent. That shows you where their values are.
So this is kind of interesting when you think about it. You know, we have some senators here in the state of Arizona, and they've been working on their what do you want to call it? Their national profile.
Well, Kelly was possibly a vice presidential.
He was bandied about
for Kamala.
Where's
Harris.
the button I push for the laughing in the background?
So, the junior senator from the great state of Arizona, Ruben Gallego.
Didn't he just start?
Like last week, he'll be at the Iowa State Fair. In Quad, and then he'll be over in Quad Cities, Iowa, in August. And I don't think he's going to check out the butter cow. Okay, no politician goes to Iowa unless they're testing the waters.
Nobody goes to Iowa.
Well, there's no reason to go to Iowa. Period. I've been there many times. I can assure you. Yeah. But he's not there to shuck corn. Well, what is Ruben Gallego doing?
Yeah, does he have a shot?
Oh, he's going to join a long list of Mo Udall, Bruce Babbitt, John McCain, Barry Goldwater, and Bruce St. James, who ran for the U.S. presidency.
Yeah.
So let him join the list. I think it's good for him, good for Arizona. I think the attention for Arizona is amazing.
So, Sal, you vote for the Democrat?
No, I think it's great that we have people running that come from the state of Arizona. It gives us attention.
Does the state miss out? And I'm this is a political question.
Yeah.
Seriously, does the state miss out because our senators are less pro? When we had Senator McCain, you'd say there was a heft. We had Senator Goldwater. These were like the senior members of the Senate, senior members of Congress. Now we've got some rookies, for lack of a better term.
Mo Udall, too.
Yeah,
Bruce
I
Babbitt,
shouldn't forget
they were
Mr.
all
Udall,
heavyweights,
yes.
too. But, at the end of the day, it's really good for the state of Arizona, regardless of their political party, for these individuals to be doing this.
What do you think,
it gives profile.
State Senator Ortiz?
I think what we're seeing is Senator Gallego wanting to make people across the country aware of Republicans' devastating budget bill they just passed, which is going to have serious, devastating consequences, kicking people off of their health care, taking food out of the mouths of hungry kids, also that billionaires can afford another yacht, and he's simply making people aware of that. Democrats are hungry for
He's not total on the left.
Well, he used to be.
He likes to be somewhere in the middle, leaning left,
I think
right?
he sees himself as a
So
moderate.
much for me trying to be bipartisan here.
He's going to Iowa to be clear about what this devastating bill is going to do to working people. And Democrats nationwide are hungry for national leadership. I think it's great that somebody from AZ is really elevating themselves to show that we can lead as a state. And it is bipartisan because these cuts are going to hurt people regardless of party.
That's what we've been living under for many years, since 2017. The bill is not that much different than it was in 2017.
370,000 Arizonans kicked off health care.
Nobody complained.
Go ahead.
Sheriff Lamb, go ahead.
This is all the Democrats have to hold on to because they've been getting shellacked on every level. The border was a disaster, got it fixed. All of the stuff in the Middle East, everything they've complained about, every time they cite their sights on, they lose time and time again. Yeah. They're going to go off of this bill again, and it's going to end up backfiring on them again because I think in the end, Americans are going to be pleased with it. The economy's already bounced back. All of these things are going in the wrong direction for Democrats.
Well, I remember the Democrats complaining about the price of eggs in January, right after the president took office, and now they're lower than they've
fuel
ever
was
been.
higher, housing was higher.
I
everything was
absolutely
higher.
disagree. I think Trump got elected on an absolute
What?
lie
You
that he
disagree?
would fight for working families. And this budget is the biggest transfer of wealth from the working class to the wealthiest 1%.
you
And
wanted
that
to-
is what
you wanna
Senator
tax
Gallego is
more
going to make
Americans.
clear to the voters of the entire nation, including Arizona. I think
And
he's
Elise,
doing
you
a
want to
great
tax
job.
more Americans because it was going to raise taxes by about 3 or 4% for working families. Those so-called working families, they wouldn't have got taxes on, or the break on the taxes on tips. There was a lot of bad that would have happened had they not extended the already existing tax cuts. But I want to just say real quick because I don't want to run out of time.
No.
Yeah.
I think that Mark Kelly is probably a more viable option
really?
for the Democrats, and I expect him to make that move. He's coming up at the end of his term, so
Well, he needs to get to Iowa in August. I got to
I
tell
don't
you.
think it matters who they run. If we continue on this course, I think that the average American, and especially if we continue to remove voters that shouldn't be here.
Well, if
Okay,
the bill,
guys, hold on.
if the
Oh,
bill
my
did
God.
not pass, the janitor that you brought up earlier, Gatos, the $3,600 a year savings, he was not going to get that.
So thank you guys all for being inside the war room. Thank you. And thank you for defending your positions and for being passionate about it.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gatos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.